So how do you tie a man's tie? This is one of the most difficult things to do. It's really hard to master. And in doing so, I am shocked actually by the recent announcements by the Kenyan speaker in the parliament that the dress code of the Kenyan parliament within the vicinity, inside, for visitors also, that African attire is forbidden and religious clothes are forbidden, even women's religious clothes. And I'm just wondering, what will the Muslim parliamentarians do? Are they going to be uncovered? The headdress is going to be uncovered? How crude is that? And banning of African clothes in favor of these ties and suits and socks and shoes. I mean, like, did that remind you of rules in boarding school? Right? That's crazy. And what's even more crazy is recently, a week ago, Kenya celebrated 60 years of independence from colonialism. And then we have to prescribe this Western dressing. I mean, like, isn't that crazy? This is really crazy, because one of the children of Africa in the diaspora, what they have to struggle with the most is being swallowed by the Western culture, okay? Especially if you were raised in Africa and then you come here and you've lived the African culture. And the Western culture is waiting to swallow you up in every possible way. And so we struggle a lot every single day to find our identity and to survive. Because if we are lost, and you will never recognize us. And that's a very big way of being disempowered. So an interesting thing is, while the African children in the diaspora are struggling to survive, and they're looking forward to Africa to even visit and recapture that African culture, because that's one of the reasons we visit Africa, is we get sick and tired of being swallowed up, losing ourselves every day. So we come home to Africa to recuperate and to retank and to get that African spirit back into us. And when we get back, we like to guard it like gold, like diamonds. We don't want to lose it. And the funny thing is, we find that our African people, they are heading towards the West in their mentality, in their way of thinking, longing so much to lose their African culture, African identity, in favor of Western ways of doing things. I mean, what's wrong with us Africans? What is wrong with us? And I can only tell you that one thing is wrong with us. We have been rearranged, like Bob Marley said, and we have mental slavery. We have mental slavery, and we cannot win. We cannot win the game of Africa versus the West if we're going to go after Western ways of living. We are returning back to Africa. We are longing for our identity, because that's where our power is. So why is it important that we Africans find and embrace and maintain our African identity? Why? In this video, I am going to share some really important points why that is important. And it is just one thing actually that is very, very important. So who am I? I am Jamhuri. Welcome to African Living Abroad. I'm here to share my international experiences, build bridges between cultures with the hope of making the world a better place. I consider myself a social observer, a commentator of social events, an interpreter of these events, and a storyteller. So we will admit at first that at the very beginning, including myself, that we African children, we have been rearranged strategically from the point of colonialism. And this goes back centuries. So it's very, very complicated that we have been lost for a very long time. And so we are going to work together to move into our Africanism, our African identity. And I know that there's some people who will not find this message attractive at all, because people have been conditioned to hate themselves and to think that everything that comes from the West is the best. The clothes, the food, the styles, the music, everything. And I would say that many of us have lived in the West for decades, and we really are tired of what you guys are running after, okay? Because those things conflict very much with our African nature or African identity. And because we are minorities living in a large culture, we get swallowed up. And if you don't fight for your survival, for your identity, you're going to be lost. And people who are lost, they are powerless, okay? And I think this is one of the tools of colonialism, to undo think about the things that were lost in Africa that are very, very important in identifying people and empowering people. Culture, languages, religion, education that is not written from an African point of view, and so many other things. And then we were given a Western identity in terms of language, in terms of dressing style, dress code. And this is really important because it's coming to haunt us again. Why is it so important to have a dress code like that is so strict? And if you look at even our African hairstyle, is being banned even in Kenya, which is Kenya is now at the point I'm talking about right now. Beautiful, what we call locks, natural. And if African women would wear locks, their hair grows very long and beautiful. But this is being banned. Kids are being suspended in schools because of wearing their hair like this. I mean, what is wrong with us? And I have to tell you something, that all these years of us living out in the West, I have never witnessed that Western people are running after African languages, running after African way of dressing, except our music. Yes, they enjoy our music, and that's very beautiful. But you could also prove me wrong. There are so many Westerners living in Africa. Can you try to engage them in your local languages? Speak to them in Swahili, your national language, or your tribal languages. See how far you can get with them. Do they really care to embrace our African culture while they live in Africa? So why are we running away from ourselves and embracing something that is so foreign? And these are questions that we ask ourselves every single day. And at some point, really, you get exhausted, because as you live in the West, you feel that you're being inauthentic and you feel defeated. You're trying to be someone else who is not you. And so what I'm talking about in this video is personal identity, because we Africans, we have to admit we are suffering from identity crisis, and that was a systematic tool of colonization, which we should really be moving away from. Okay, when we look at what's happening in Mali, in Niger, and in Burkina Faso, in order for them to progress, guess what they have to shed? They have to shed their colonial master, who has pressed them down with language, economically, culturally. And so you will see countries like that, because they are embracing themselves now and getting rid of this foreign influence, they will start to prosper. And this is the clue. I have a couple of points. One, when you embrace your personal identity, you gain what? One, confidence. It doesn't have to be national. Even in your own life, right now, wherever you are, you gain confidence. And what does confidence help you to do? With confidence, you can go through any door. And number two, you gain your personal power back. You are able to see that, wow, you're worth something. And you can negotiate, you can play the game which other people are playing because you feel equal to your opponents or the people that are playing in that game. You are not in negative self-talk, feeling small and inferior, and always giving up and handing your hand forward to be given. No, you have something to bring. And in the case of these three countries that I mentioned, they will have something to negotiate and to say, we have the resources, we are manufacturing, we have something to offer, and you're going to buy from us at a certain price, whether you like it or not. They regain their power. And you are able, number three, you are able to draw your boundaries. Even in your own personal life, you will not let people walk all over you. You will know what your boundaries are. And people will negotiate with you based on your rules, on your price. Take it or leave it. But I think that the path that Kenya has taken, even recently, I was very disappointed that as we're moving towards African empowerment, Pan-Africanism, Kenya is moving backwards. What's wrong with Kenya? Okay, I'm not saying the common people, but the leaders. You cannot go back and embrace your colonizer and you think that person is nicer than the past. They are carrying a legacy. We cannot do that. Have some pride. But before you have that pride, know who you are. Know what your identity is. Embrace it. And I'm going to tell you, when you embrace your identity, it will cost you something. You are going to lose some friends. You are going to lose that have been manipulating you, who've been putting you down. They will fall off. And I think that's what the Kenyan government is afraid of. And all these people that are still following the Western colonial rules. No, we cannot move back until you face your opponent, and you might lose something. But Africa is bracing herself up for second phase of being independent economically, and there will be some things to lose. You're going to lose mighty friends, and they were not going to hand you this economic independence on a plate. No, it's about you moving a certain way, regaining your identity and saying, no, I've been played too long. You've not really been a friend because you've used me, and you call it like the way it is. And so coming back to African identity, or other countries that take pride in their national attire, like Nigerians, for instance, when they go to parliament, they wear their national clothes and they look great and they don't even think about it. It's not even a problem of discussion. And what do you think about Nigerians? Nigerians are very powerful people. I have many Nigerian friends and they have such strong confidence. And I admire them because they have, you know what, the other day I was just looking at online about Nigerian attire, traditional. It is like elegance, pure. It is power just coming out from looking at those clothes. And Nigeria is able to do a lot of things that other African countries cannot do. And are you surprised why? They have embraced themselves. They know who they are. Or look at the parliaments of the Arabian countries, Middle Eastern countries. Or for instance, even the Prime Minister of India, when he goes to international meetings, he dresses the Indian style. And what's wrong with that? That is being who he is. And you may ask yourself, is India a strong country? Is it? I think so. And it shows you embrace yourself. I tell you, you will move forward. You will be powerful. So this is a really big challenge from me, and I believe other Africans in the diaspora, to say, you know what, if we want to be free, which is inevitable, and I'm telling you this, there is a prophecy that is that has been said, and it's also been, if you listen to political analysts from the previous 5 years, Africa, they're saying Africa is going to be one of the leaders, economic powerhouse, and it's true. And it's because Africans are sick and tired up to here with being colonized. Okay, we were never fully free. If we were free, why are we not doing our own industries? Why are raw materials imported out, exported the way outside, and those countries, they purify all those products and they sell it back to us? I would say, is that not crazy? And Africa is beginning to wake up, and I'm so grateful for that. And we're seeing Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali being leaders, and that's where we're heading. That's where we are heading. And so I would really say that we should shed our colonial way of thinking. We should emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. You know, this year I just realized Bob Marley was telling us so much. And I would encourage you to listen to Bob Marley. He was telling us a lot of things. And we have been rearranged. And let's stop running and embracing the West and losing ourselves. So anyway, I want to thank you for your time here. And if you like this message, even if it was just an entertainment for you, I would encourage you to comment on it. And, you know, share this message with others, subscribe to my channel. And I know that there are some people who do not have a YouTube account. So you cannot do those things like subscribing and commenting and liking if you do not have an account. So you might want to create an account first. And so I would say that I wish all of us Africans empowerment, okay? Embracing our beautiful African culture. We are beautiful in every way, And I want to close by saying, we Africans in the diaspora, after many years of juggling, I mean, we are caught between two cultures, our African culture and the Western culture. And at the end, I find that Africa always wins. The African in us always wins. And there's a saying that you may take an African out of Africa, but you cannot take out the African in the African themselves. And so I wish us all a good future, and that we should all wake up. And I think that in the very, very near future, the West is going to be looking for leadership from us. They know what we are capable of. And many are actually beginning to speak of it. It's just us who are still asleep. Let's wake up and take our rightful place in this world. Thank you so much. Thank you. See you next time.